For this fishing lure, I'm going to wipe it down with isopropyl alcohol. It'll leave it nice and clean and it'll be ready for the next step, and we'll dry that with a hairdryer. You may need to use an adhesion promoter depending on the lures you have, or even sanding. It's time to get some paint onto this fishing lure. So we're going to undercoat it with Autoborn Sealer Yellow. We're going to reduce that by about 20% with high performance reducer, and we're going to put down a couple of coats, and we're going to dry those in between coats. For our hardware, we're using the Iwata Neo. It's a 0.5mm TRN2. It's a trigger airbrush, which means the trigger's at the bottom. So it's very much like a spray gun. When you let go of the trigger, so does the material and the airflow stop. So now that we've got this coated, let's get on to the next step. This lure is going to have a fair bit of push and pull to give the dimensions. We're going to go backwards and forwards in colours. But what we're going to start with our TRN2, the 0.5mm, we've got that loaded with Wicked Colours UV Glow White. And that's an ultraviolet reactive paint. So as it goes through the water column where other colours will drop out, this colour will glow from underneath. So we're going to give that a couple of heavy coats underneath the lure. Now for this step, what we've done is we've grabbed ourselves the Snacks Fishing Lure stencils from All To Wear Colours, and we've grabbed out the scales one, and we've whacked that on the side of the lure, as you can see. So what we're going to do is we've got a custom mix in here. We've got our TRM1 because we want control, we just don't want to blast this, and that's a 0.35mm being the trigger handle. So what we've got in there is Wicked Pearl Yellow, and we've added a little bit of All To Wear Colours Semi-Opaque Emerald Green, and we've reduced that by about 10% with high performance reducer. Now we're going to put a coat down, and then we're going to use the compressed air from the airbrush to dry the paint, and then we're going to put another coat down, and then we're going to swap sides. Being that we've only got the scales on the side of this lure, while we've got this paint in the actual airbrush, we're just going to blend the very top of the lure with the same colour, just to tint those scales slightly into the top. For this part, we're only going to use the TRN1 because we want the 0.35mm. We want to be able to control how much paint we put down. So what we're going to do is we've got Vial Green from Createx Illustration Colours, straight from the bottle, and we've got the Snacks Fishing Lure set, and we've got the one with the spots down the side. It looks like a trout. First of all, we're going to put the lateral line down, and then we're going to dry it off. So we're now going to reposition the stencil, and we're going to do the Gill Rakes using the same Vial Green. And we're going to put that down reasonably hard, and it's going to be one coat because this colour will cover very quickly. Going back to the lateral line, what we've done is we've overlaid the stencil down lower on the actual lure so we can continue the pattern all the way to the end. And as you can see, after painting that, if you're not happy with any of the spots that you've painted already, you can go back, overlay the stencil and put in a little bit more colour, make it a little bit darker. It's one of the advantages of a stencil. Before you go doing the other side, guys, this is a helpful tip for you. Because the paint on the stencil itself is going to be slightly tacky, if you go stick that on the other side of the lure, because you've got to reverse the stencil, it's going to stick to the lure. So if you go to the spray accessories section on the website at airbrushmegastore.com, grab yourself some big wipes, pick out one of those, put a little bit of high performance reducer on it and wipe down your stencil. The paint will come off within 5 to 10 seconds, dry it off. You can now see exactly through your stencil again, perfect for relocating the other side and no paint transfer. We want the top to blend in with the sides of this particular lure, so we've grabbed the R-Tool stencil, Texture FX Minis, and while we've got the Vial Green in our airbrush, we'll lay some random shapes all over the top of this so it blends in. And if you want to, at this stage, you can put some underneath as well, or down the sides, wherever you think that you want to have a little bit more darker tone. As you can see, this lure looks pretty cool. You could leave this just as it is now, but I want this to look like a Murray cod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend the top in using the Vial Green, and I'm going to put down a reasonably heavy coat, but I don't want to go too far because if I take all of those shapes out, it won't blend into the sides like I want to. So on the air of caution, reasonably hard, not too hard. We're pretty close to calling this one done. We're going to come back with another step, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the first mix, which was the Wicked Pearl Yellow, and that's got the little bit of the semi-opaque Emerald Green from All To Wear Colours in it. Now we've grabbed our Snacks stencil, which has got just the scales on it. We've relocated that over the top of the existing one we did, and we're going to give that another coat both sides. Now after we've done this, we're then going to use it to tint the top. So what happens is that dark green will now have a little bit of the shimmer of the pearl yellow on it, and we're going to tint the sides. The whole lure will now glow when it's under the water. One of the things I'll also do after this off camera is I'll come back in and I'll reassert the bottom of the lure with UV glow white. We'll give it another coat, make it nice and bright. That'll make it that the belly of this lure will glow underneath in the depths. It'll also look very much like a Murray cod, and that's what we're trying to achieve. It's time to bring these colours to life with clear coat. So the products you've been using, they're all water-based base coats, but they are all automotive grade pigments, which means you can use acrylic lacquer clear, you can use 2-pack clear, you can dip them, you can have a look at YouTube. You will find there's many different ways to clear coat your fishing lures. But for this job, I'm going to use the acrylic lacquer clear that I found at Super Cheap Autos. It's Duplicolour, and it works very well with these paints, and it doesn't go yellow. A little bit about acrylic lacquer clear. If you've got warm to hot conditions, you can follow the manufacturer's specifications and you'll get a good result. But if you've got cold conditions like we've got now, we've got 2 degrees here right now, which means the substrate temperature of the fishing lure is going to be lower than that. If I try to clear it, what's going to happen is the clear is going to either react and crocodile, or it's going to crack. It's not the paint we've put on, it's going to be the clear coat reacting to the cold weather. So what we're going to do is we're going to warm the fishing lure up by putting a fan heater in the area. And then we're going to put on a couple of coats, drying them with a hairdryer in between coats, and that's only going to take 10 to 15 seconds. Then we're going to build up our coats until we get it nice and glossy. Now, if you go for a really saturated coat, it is possible you can get bloom, being the fact that it's so cold, and that is going to be a white tinge. So I suggest you build up your coats medium to wet, and then when you've got it to a stage that you're happy with, call it done. These are the products we use to create our fishing lures, and they're all found at airbrushmegastore.com, except for the acrylic lacquer clear. If you need something you can't find it, send me an email, info@airbrushmegastore.com. I'm there to answer your questions. But for this kit, we use the Iwata Power Jet Pro. It's strong enough to run all day long. It comes with 2 different air lines on the unit, which means you can run a different air pressure to either side. That is suitable because we wanted to use the Iwata trigger airbrushes. They're both Neos. Why do we use these? Well, being a trigger, when you release the trigger, the airflow and the material stops. So if you're a beginner airbrush artist, you can get great results immediately. If you try to go straight to a trigger airbrush on top of the airbrush, you're going to find that it's going to be harder to use. It's going to take a lot longer to get the knack of it. Don't let that put you off. If that's what you want to do, go for it. But the trigger on the front of the airbrush allows you to get results very quickly. Now, as far as the needle sizes, we used a 0.5mm and a 0.35mm. So the 0.5mm you'd use for your undercoats and your flakes, and the 0.35mm you would use that for doing your more detailed work. So after this, we used the Autoborn sealers as our undercoat. We used Autowear Colors, Wicked Colors and Illustration Colors as our paint job colors. We used V-tape to tape up our designs, and we also used the Autowear Snacks Fishing Lure Stencil set. Everyone needs to have these. It comes with a multitude of stencils in that set, different sizes. You can create your scales, your gill rakes, multiple designs. I can't see you doing fishing lures without them. And then we used a variety of Artl stencils, which gave us a great deal of different designs. So if you want to get the results that you've seen in this video, grab this gear and you'll get professional results too.